For our viewers across Africa and the rest of the world, this is NC Continental Prime with me, Blessings Mosugu. Let's start the news in West Africa, where Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has signed the 28.7 trillion naira 2024 budget into law. He has sent it to the 2024 Appropriation Bill at a brief ceremony at the presidential villa in Abuja today. President Tinubu signed the budget hours after he arrived in Abuja from Lagos, where he spent the past week holidaying. Now, to further discuss this, I'm now being joined by President, Nigerian Economic Society, Professor Adeola Adenikinju. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us. Prof, I think your device is muted. If you could help us unmute.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for having me.
Good evening. Compliments of a season. Happy New Year. Now, Prof, Nigeria's 2024 budget has been passed in record time. What major economic impacts do you foresee as a result of this swift passage of the country's budget, particularly in relation to the sectors like infrastructure development, healthcare, education, and especially job creation?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the first benefit that I see is that the early passage of the budget is going to allow for certainties, for business people, investors, and key stakeholders in the economy. Because now the uncertainties, associated in the past with when the budget will be signed into law, when the implementation will begin, and so on and so forth, those have been removed. So now, Nigerian, businessmen and women, investors and key stakeholders now know when to, that they can now start planning for the year 2024. So that is very good. It's very good for businesses because there's that certainty that it has introduced. Second is that hopefully capital budgets implementation can also begin in earnest. In the past, what you have is that because budgets are passed, sometimes into the year, capital budget implementation does not begin. In fact, in some cases in the past, by the end of third quarter, you are talking at just about 25% implementation of the capital budget. So now, sectors like infrastructure, which is very important, security, education, and all those key sectors, implementation can begin in earnest because the budget, had been signed into law by the president. And there's one thing that the president also said that I think is really very, very important, which is monitoring. And that every month, the ministries, departments, and agencies of government must submit implementation, of the budget, how far they have been able to implement the budget to the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. I think that is very important.
Right. Now, Prof, for the first time in, say, 8 years, the issue of budget padding has not been raised. The National Assembly increased the budget and it was signed into law. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, well, in my view, that is not too much of a material increment, And what they've done is to actually look at the exchange rate to the naira, to adjust that. What I'm not too sure about is, the increment, which sectors did that go into? If it is basically into capital, the capital expenditure component of the budget, I think that is still okay in my view.
Okay, and what potential challenges or gaps would you say can arise during the implementation phase of the budget? Passing the budget is one thing, implementing it is another. And how can these hurdles be effectively addressed to ensure that the budget is successfully executed?
Yeah, the budget is based on a number of parameters. These are, estimates. we are looking at the expected price of oil. Oil is very important parameter in the budget. The volume, the quantity produced, daily production is also very important. The exchange rate is important. The inflation rate is very important. The growth rate of the GDP growth is very important. These are key, parameters that, will drive the implementation or the realization of the budgets. Whether the budget is going to be realized or will be something that can be realized would depend on the extent to which those parameters, are achieved. And I mean, some of these parameters are outside the control of government. For instance, the price of oil. What will the price of oil be in 2024? Nobody knows. That is, quite unpredictable what it is. In my view, the $77.8 per barrel seems reasonable in my view, but again, nobody can really predict what the price of oil will be. The geopolitical tensions that may arise, what will be the fortune of economic situation in 2024, what will happen to, 2024 is also the election year in America, so there are many other factors that are important in realizing, realizing that price of oil. Quantity of oil, the volume, the 1.78 million barrels per day, again, will also depend on the extent to which the government is able to calm or restore security in the Niger Delta area, where oil production comes from. If we're going to have vandalization, we're going to have oil theft, then that becomes difficult. And again, we must have to also negotiate with OPEC that has, pegged our production to something that is lower than what government has projected in the budget. Again, inflation, GDP growth, these are important parameters, in the budget that the extent to which, those parameters are realized would also affect materially the extent to which the budget can be implemented. Also, the issue around security. You can't have prosperity without security, without peace. So if peace is there, if security is there, and then you're able to drive production in the agricultural sector, you're able to restore back, confidence, of Nigerians, ability to travel around the countries and do their businesses. Those are very important things that the government, lie outside the powers of the government, and yet they would, be very influential in the outcome of the 2024 budget.
Now, considering the outlined fiscal allocations, what pivotal challenges or strategic initiatives within this budget do you believe that will significantly contribute to the country's economic growth and the country's sustainable development this year?
Yeah, I think the priorities of government, in my view, are in order, dealing with the issue of security, so that is very important. Like I said, you can't do a lot without security. So security is very important, and this budget has allocated the highest, sum of money, highest share of the budget to ensuring security. In addition to that, is human capital development. Education has received also, I think, one of the highest sectoral allocations. Similarly, is health, okay? And then poverty alleviation. These are important areas, Human capital is very important, really, because that is what will drive long-term growth. It's your human capital. It's the extent to which your people are healthy, the extent to which you're able to deal with out-of-school children, the extent to which you're able to keep the universities open without strikes, the extent to which you're able to guarantee good health for your citizens. Very important. And social, because the economy is also going through a lot of difficulties, people are going through a lot of tough economic environment. So you need to provide, palliatives and, something like cash transfers, as it were, to the vulnerables. Okay, so the extent to which the government is able to implement that, in particular, will be very important to cushion the heavy burdens and the difficulties that the very poor people are going through in the country.
All right. Now, Prof, finally, the President, Bola Tinubu, acknowledged the economic hardship that Nigerians are facing. How would the budget of 2024 influence the investment climate and the business prospects within the country, especially for local enterprises, foreign investors, and, of course, emerging industries?
Yeah, that is a very good question. In 2023, Nigeria witnessed the exit of about 6 multinational companies who left because of issues around the exchange rate, the difficult business environment that they are faced with in Nigeria, and so on and so forth. So the government has, beyond the talk, is to walk the talk, is for the government to actually see the extent to which, the high energy prices can be addressed. The uncertainties around the exchange rate of the naira is also very important. No businesses can actually thrive around when you have a very volatile exchange rate. Macroeconomic stability is really very important for business people to be able to make investment plans, to be able to make investment decisions. You want to be able to be sure that the macroeconomic environment is very stable. So the essence of it is able to implement its policies and oversight or support, driving down the inflation rate in the economy, ensuring stable exchange rate, bringing down energy prices, at least again to ensure that the high cost of energy is, partially addressed through, for instance, the domestic refineries, both the government refinery, the public sector, the public refinery sector refineries and the Dangote refineries, that they are open. The extent to which, we're able to guarantee security, again, is also very important. So infrastructure, electricity is one of the high costs, that businesses are confronted with in Nigeria. The electricity we generate, and that's available now is substantially below what the economy needs. Businesses have to spend so much money on safe generation, amidst the high cost of diesel, and the high, exchange rates, so it's an extremely difficult environment for that businesses are confronted with in Nigeria. So the extent to which these issues are addressed would determine to a very large extent to which the extent to which it is able to impact on the economy and impact on the livelihoods and the lives of Nigerian populace.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor, for your time with us on the news, and thanks for sharing your thoughts as well.
Thank you for having me.